incredible. I want you guys to know, I sort of alluded to this in the beginning, but Andrew has actually been, no, Dr. Andrew, sorry, but Andrew.
Whatever.
Andrew has actually been my mentor for the last 8-ish years.
Yeah, probably.
Remember we met when he was the Associate Dean of Students, or Associate Provost Dean of Students at Belmont University, and he came up to me and said, hey, if you ever want to grab coffee, let me know. And I said, I would love to. And I remember asking you at the first coffee, hey, why'd you make me ask you? And you said, because I didn't want you to think you were in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? And what's amazing was that first coffee 8 years ago, all the way till even as soon as a couple weeks ago, we've been doing coffee, lunches, dinners on a pretty regular basis. And typically when I get into a place in my leadership, as I lead this creative team, I'm sometimes faced with some scenarios, and I'm like, hey, how would you deal with this? And inevitably, you always pull out a pen out of your pocket and grab the napkin in front of us, and he's like, well, see, you're a doer, you know, and your direct response here is this. But your team gets in the way, and you got to really figure out how to convert the power from here to here.
Yeah.
And so in many ways, you just got to experience a little bit of the napkin leadership that he's been pouring into me for the last several years. And what, about a year and a half ago, I came up to you at one of these coffees, and I asked you a crazy question.
Yeah, you did.
I said, would you put all that napkin theology into a book?
Yeah.
And what's amazing is he did. And it's called Fired Up. And I just want you to share a little bit about what this is about, this process, and sort of how this came to be.
Yeah. When Luke first asked me to do this, I tried to get out of it, but he's pretty persuasive. And then my second thought was, I wonder if I could just bind all those napkins and call it a book. That didn't work either. No, it was a really exciting process. I was sitting in my backyard at the fire pit, and I was just kind of thinking about this, thinking, wow, how do I come up with something that I think is worthy of salt and what people need and all, and I was having trouble kind of framing it. And it dawned on me as I'm sitting there by the fire that maybe fire is a good metaphor for creativity and what we're trying to do in terms of kindle something powerful like that. And that became the framing device for the book. So the book is written around the idea of the fire triangle that you learn in elementary school, where fire needs 3 ingredients to really happen. First one is oxygen, second one is fuel, and the third one is heat. So the sections in the book correspond to that. The first one's about oxygen. So it's about all those things that you might do as a leader to free your team up, to loosen things that hold them back and hem them in. The second one is about fuel, and that's about what, as a leader, do you give them that stokes this fire and keeps them burning without burning out. And then the third one is about heat, and that's about some of the tough stuff of leadership that's like turning up the heat on things, keeping the bar high, challenging them, etc. And so altogether, it's a practical, easy-to-read book on how to really fire up the people that you lead.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've learned from Andrew is that organizational life sometimes isn't the best environment for a creative. Right. And so when I came to him, I said, hey, I don't want us just to release a leadership book. Like, that's not what we feel called to. And he was like, thank you. We don't need just another one of those. I said, I really want to put some resource in the hands of our community that really gets creative teams fired up. And so that's the coolest part, is that the book is written to those who lead creatives. Maybe you could just buy this and give it to your pastor for Christmas and just say, hey, if you wanted to understand me, here you go. You know, it's me in a book. I don't know. But what I love is that he takes all of his professorial sort of knowledge and wisdom, the big words like reciprocity and dope, and you put all that into a book, right? So anyway.